bars in a raid. Man, I go hard, less than 10.
Yes, hello, good evening, one and all. It's your boy SV Carboholic, and I'm back. Yes, we're back again with your weekly edition of TG. Touchline Gunners, listeners, welcome. Patrons, welcome. Newbies, welcome. Anyone who's here for the first time, we love you. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy. We hope you're a fan. We hope you've heard good stuff. And if you're just looking for some new Arsenal content, we hope we can fill that fix for you. Yes, we are back. The lads were back off their Asia, Singapore and Hong Kong tour, back at the Emirates for the first of two home games before the season starts. So against Villarreal, we do have Athletic Bilbao, I believe, at home on Saturday. And then we have a clean week of training before the curtain raiser at Old Trafford. God, all eyes on me slot. Everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be watching. And yes, it will be a deadly day one way or another. Either we get to dunk on the ops or we are subject to ridicule. But, you know, for that good stuff, win or lose, we're always here to talk about that good stuff. Just for a quick nod to the patrons, we really appreciate you. Listeners, if you are not a member, but you would like to enjoy some more exclusive stuff, do feel free to join our Patreon for as little as £3 a month. We do loads of scouting reports. I think this summer alone, we've covered Norgard, we've covered Mosquera, we've covered Zubamendi, we've covered Gyökeres again. We did Sesko again. We did we did Agume. We did Rodrigo. We've done Madueke. So yeah, we've been very, very consistent over the summer whilst football was sparse. And we also did drop last week the first of a scouting series of our own players, a review of the season, a preview of the season ahead. We did do Ethan Nwaneri tapes last week. We do also have Miles Lewis Skelly tapes on the horizon. So guys, there's loads of stuff to dig your teeth into on the Patreon side of things. So if you do like that, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'd love to have you there. But if you're just here for the weekly updates, we're here. We love you here as well. So got a few things to talk about, and you know, the minister himself, listen, Dr. Umar's apprentice is here to join me. Khalil, how are you? Good, sir.
Good. I'm glad that pre-season is almost over because the real business can begin and all the hypothetical talk can end, and we can see what this football club, manager, squad, record label, crew.
Yes, indeed. Well, we have, I believe, yesterday was our fourth. Well, if you want to count the behind closed doors friendly that was played against Watford, so it's actually our fifth pre-season friendly that we've had. It was our second defeat as we lost 3-2 at home to Villarreal yesterday. I did actually take my 5-year-old son to his first ever Emirates game. You know, I did warn the club it was a legacy game last week, that they could win or lose a supporter for life, and they duly proceeded to disappoint, as I've become accustomed to. But luckily for them, my son still loved and enjoyed the experience, which was the most important thing for me. So he loved it. He can't wait to go back. So listen, you man, Arsenal, you've got yourselves another chance to right the wrongs that you gave yesterday. Khalil, I'll talk a bit about the game yesterday. I know you haven't watched the game in full. So we did lose 3-2 at home to Villarreal. Obviously, generally, I'm not someone who's perturbed by preseason results. I'm more looking to what I see on the pitch. I want to see performance. I want to see good patterns. I want to see if there's green shoots of recovery, stuff to be encouraged by going forward. So, you know, I'm never too worried about losing games in preseason, but I want to see, especially based on some of the concerns that we had last season, if we're working to address them. And obviously I'm trying not to read too much into it so far, right? Because usually, and based off the last couple pre-seasons, Arteta's tended to, especially the last couple, just tended to play the first team, like in the last couple pre-season friendlies before the season starts. So we kind of got a good glimpse of what to expect, what to see. I remember I was at the Bayer Leverkusen game at home. I think it was that our last, I think that was our last pre-season game last. And we watched them 4-0. You know, this was off the back of them doing their treble under Xabi Alonso, really, really good. And it was really impressive. So, you know, I had that confidence going into the season that we looked sharp, we looked fit, we looked physically ready. Whereas I guess this pre-season, Khalil, Arteta's not really done that. Obviously, we've had 6 new signings. You know, they've come in at various different points. Pre-season this time seems to have been a much bigger sort of mix match in terms of the personnel selection, the choice. So sometimes I guess when you keep doing that, it can be hard to build up chemistry, relationships. And so, when the lineup for the Villarreal game dropped, I saw the midfield three of Norgard, Ethan, and Marino. I was immediately discouraged. Not because obviously everyone deserves game time. You've got to give everyone a chance to show themselves, right? But upon looking at that, my immediate first thought was, especially when we had Gyökeres starting up top, was like, where's the creativity coming from? And as someone who's a big advocate of Ethan, he's a fantastic dribbler, fantastic shooter, but I wouldn't say so far he's really displayed a playmaking bag, which it could be an area of development for him. So I was kind of looking, where the creativity is going to come from. In preseason so far, we have shown a bit more verticality, a willingness, directness to go from back to front a bit quicker. That would be the main takeaway I've had. Ben White's been hitting a lot of just good diags straight to like the feet. There was one he hit to Martinelli yesterday where he really should have done better. So we have been shown a willingness, similar to our Ops Liverpool, who are very, very good at it, at going from back to front very quickly. So, we are an uber control team. We do like to dominate territory. Some people call us Field Tilt FC. I understand the logic behind that as well, because of how much control we tend to exert. And we actually started yesterday's game actually relatively well, really, really well. We pinned them back for like the first 15, 20, which made it even more frustrating when they went down the other end with their first attack and scored. We have conceded probably a couple counter attacks in pre-season so far. And that doesn't stress me majorly. When you have so much of the ball, they are going to have moments. Teams will always have moments. So I'm not too perturbed by that. But it was a bit naive, I don't think Kivior, Miles Lewis-Skelly or Raya covered themselves with glory for the first goal. Second goal, we weren't really tracking. I think Ethan and Ben White could potentially be guilty of both not tracking runners. It allowed them to ghost inside. So yeah, we really didn't cover ourselves with glory. We did, similar to like what we do, the game state, a lot of it's in our favor. We dominate, but sometimes we struggle to carve out good chances. And as we know, we rely on set pieces. We managed to pull a goal back through Norgard just before that half time period, I think. But it wasn't great. I'll be totally honest with you. Second half, we saw some changes. We saw Zubamendi come in, I believe. I think Mosquera replaced Ben White, so we came in at right back before eventually shifting over to centre back when Saliba came off. We saw the introductions later on of guys like Max Dowman, Erdegaard, Rice, Madueke. They all came on, and we sort of huffed and puffed. We did create a bit of momentum, but then we conceded again in transition. Gabriel has not played. That was pretty much all pre-season, so you could tell he looked rusty. But you can allow it. It happens, in it. Those are his first proper minutes of pre-season, so I'm sure he'll get that rust out eventually. So we conceded a third. Danjuma went through, really, really accurate, tight finish into the bottom corner. I couldn't really do much about that, and we sort of huffed and puffed. Obviously, we did get a penalty, really, really well won by Max Dowman. Erdegaard dispatched. But again, we sort of huffed and puffed, didn't create a great deal. There was a chance in the second half for Gyökeres before he was brought off. And he had a good shot. I think it was meant for Saka, but he sort of took it on himself. So, and so that's kind of just a quick overview of sort of what happened yesterday. And then game ended 3-2, went to penalties. Nobody really gave a damn. Like, we lost, whatever. Like, the game was done. Nobody gave a crap after that. But I guess before we talk about some nuances that I want to concentrate on in terms of what we're noticing, I just want to gauge your overall thoughts on pre-season as a whole. Do you place a lot of stock in results? What do you like to see? How valuable is the pre-season exercise for you? Because we were having a debate in the chat today, right? Some people don't give a damn. They said even performances, results, they just don't care. They're just ready for when the season starts. Others are like, they see it as a bit of a precursor, as potentially what could happen during the season. Want to see if, new experiments, new methods, tried and tested. So how much stock do you place on it, Khalil?
So I think in years past, I have taken an interest in pre-season for sort of two reasons. One is the performances, but that's also linked to how we potentially approach games. I don't care for the results necessarily, but yeah, definitely in the pre-season games that I do try to watch, I do look out for our style of play, and also the integration of whatever new signings. I think sometimes people sort of dismiss preseason because they say they're still waiting for recruitment to be finished. But to me, I class that all as part of preseason. So, for example, if we had managed to get in Gyökeres 4 weeks earlier than what we did, Gyökeres then has more time to, bed in with his teammates. Maybe you get to see, more variations of how we approach some of these preseason games. And then maybe the overall performance levels of the team is better when you're able to bring in those new pieces. I think when we consider sort of a lot of the discussions around this team and what we're probably going to get into, for example, chance creation, I think for me, again, you're sort of looking at what potential tactical alterations are being made in order to facilitate, better creation, or are we just going to kind of run it back? So I do see value in preseason. Again, not because of the results, but definitely trying to see like how we approach games. I think another thing is because of how congested the football calendar is, the notion of, players getting a break, fully rested, and then coming back just seems to be like a thing of the past now. I mean, you've got clubs that played in the Club World Cup, but even a team like us that didn't, it's still reasonably not reasonable. I think it's still an unreasonably short, break period between the last sort of competitive games that they played, either internationals or league, and then coming back now. So again, I think now more than ever, it's kind of probably more difficult to ascertain where players' true levels are. I think it's someone like Saka, you've seen the debates. Some of the preseason games, people have said, "Oh, he looks a bit washed," or he's still struggling off his injury. And in other preseason games, people say he's looking sharp. And I think those are the kind of things that are sort of difficult to tell. And I think some people sort of decide because of that they're just going to disregard it. But I do think there is value in seeing how teams play. And fundamentally, if your team is playing well in preseason, i.e. in performances, as a fan, you do look at that positively. So I don't kind of get the opposite where if you don't see us playing well, then it's all okay. So you're going to dismiss it because they're not playing well. I think either you see value in preseason or you don't. Like, kind of be consistent about it. I think I've referenced play integration, but Zubimendi, Mascara, two guys that in the games that I've seen when they've been given minutes of notice, especially Zubimendi. I think that has kind of been, I won't say underreported because, every signing has, its shining moment or, time in the sun or whatever you want to call it. But I've been impressed by his integration, I think, and how he's played. He's kind of going to have to be thrown into the deep end based on how I've seen sort of Norgard play. So seeing how quickly, he can adapt, in terms of really taking control of possession and, helping us to get on the pitch will be interesting to see. I do agree with some of the frustrations in regards to us being field tilt champions. I'm not one for possession's sake. If you look at the Milan game, for example, I think we were clearly the better team. We did manage to, sort of pin them in. And I think we did create chances that we didn't really, do too much of. But then we've seen in the bits I've seen anyway, the Tottenham game where we had possession, but didn't really do much with it. So, yeah, I think those are definitely things to pick up on. And then, you can't really go talking about our preseason without mentioning Max Dowman. I'd be very curious to see if he actually gets reasonable minutes this season. I'm not putting any sort of pressure on that situation. At the end of the day, he's 15, which is ridiculous. But he's clearly shown he can at least hang with professionals. So I'll be curious to see how that evolves. I think with him, Ethan, Saka, what I sort of worry about is how, and again, we're going to get into conversations about our creation, is we're almost like we're looking for individuals to like muster something up because we're not sort of getting sort of the consistent creation we want in certain areas of the pitch. And, as much as I've said since I've got to this pod that we lack X factor and attack in various reasons, that I'm all for seeing that. I still feel as if as a team we should be able to make more of the possession that we do in more dangerous areas. Another side note, for some reason we just cannot defend set pieces really well anymore, which is a bit strange. I'm hoping it's just an odd trend that's going to correct itself. But for a team that's so dangerous at set pieces, we seem to be letting goals in unnecessarily. But yeah, I think that's kind of my views on preseason. Like I mentioned before, it's a bit difficult to tell because of just how the football landscape has changed, especially as it pertains to how seasons basically overlap. Right, there's no like clear break where players could go get 4 or 5 weeks, come back, and you can slowly sort of build up, their fitness. And yeah, so I guess there is value to see in preseason. I think there was one other thing I was going to say on this topic as it pertains to preseason, which has escaped me. But yeah, I mean, I think I said it already, just in terms of, are we going to see tactical variations? I think there's aspects of maybe some extra verticality, but I wouldn't say there's anything that's been too drastic in the bits I've seen. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how match week 1, how we approach that game, because it's just around the corner, and I think it's going to really show where we're at as a team going into the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that point is a bit difficult, right? Because Gyökeres has basically only been here a week. He's not really had a great deal of time to train. And I just think if he's going to be a key part of the shift, right, we need to see much more. So obviously on Saturday against Bilbao, we'll get another chance to look at it. I actually think maybe just a week of training might actually be better than maybe even potentially a game as well, to give them a bit more time to work on the patterns. And because I think that would be our 5th or 6th preseason game. I think Arteta said after the game yesterday, he said in terms of match fitness, that's fine. Said it's more about just preparation, which I actually kind of agree with. I think you want to get the minutes in the legs, but at the same time, I think they've had the minutes in the legs, and probably, in Singapore they had or over the course of that tour, right, they had 3 games in 7 days. And when you're building up fitness, that's probably quite a lot to do at that stage. You probably need a bit of a period just to calm down and, rest, and then, put the minutes back in again. So I'm not too fussed. I think the amount of fixtures we've actually played for preseason is calm. I just think, they'll probably benefit for some time. And, we've spoken about some of the verticality that we've had. I think for me, if I was to pick out my standout performers from pre-season so far, it was Zubimendi looks top. I'll be honest with you. For someone who initially, probably a year ago, I wasn't keen on him, but the more I've watched him, he just looks a serious player. He just looks like he's probably the way his pass selection, his footballing IQ, his anticipation. Obviously, he knows he's not a rapid athlete, so the way he positions himself is really, really intelligent. And he just makes a lot of smart decisions. There's nothing overly complex about Zubimendi's game, but when I remember Xavi always used to say playing simple football is the hardest football, and the best players make the simple stuff look easy, and sometimes the easier stuff can be hardest to execute as well. So I really, really just like his approach. I think he's been top. He might end up being our best signing, I think, and probably most critical to anything we want to do this season. Another person I'll take, Ben White, has looked really sharp, which I think is good. I think I said in the chat before, I said you can always tell when Ben White's fit and when he's not fit, in terms of the athleticism he shows up and down. And I said I actually think he might actually be our best passer from in defense as well. You remember the ball we played over the top to Saka against Liverpool last season. There was a couple he's hit so far this pre-season that are 50, 60, and he's just put it on the money of a forward. And obviously it's not to that level, but when you think of Trent, where he would just hit one ball, and it's just taken out the whole team. And I'm so those sorts of nuances, when we talk about stuff we've taken on, I do like that, and hopefully we get to see a bit more of that. Max Dowman is an obvious one, and maybe we should stick on this point for a minute. And Ethan's had his sharp moments here and there as well. Dowman, yeah, cool. We've known about him for a while. We've spoken about him in the chat for a while. To put it this way, compared to when we were growing up, it's very different. I'm pretty sure everyone in Europe knows who Max Dowman is. I'll be honest with you. There's probably no secrets. But thankfully, this seems like an Arsenal lad. He's his family are all Arsenal. So and obviously, based on the talent, on what you're seeing, I'll be real, the kid looks fake, bro. he looks a joke. His ability to go past players, he's 15, bro. Man is legit doing his GCSEs this year. It's crazy talk to me. How much he will play this season, I'm doubtful. I'd be surprised if we saw him more than 5 times. I'll be honest with you. Partly just because obviously we've just signed Noni, who's going to be playing a lot. The talk is, if you believe a lot of people, that we're still going to get Eze. So when you do that and you notice the amount of forwards we have, you've got to question how many minutes he will see. Maybe in the League Cup potentially, but I think eventually it will be he will start banging down the door. So maybe if we give him a year, I'd say like let him have a year with the under 21s. Maybe if we can bring him in for the League Cup games and maybe the odd bench here or there. But based on what I've seen, like right now, the squad is massively bloated, right? We're talking that we still want more for the squad, right? And the squad is stacked. I think we have like 27 squad players, like, so we need to get rid of quite a few, to be fair. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Max. But he is the kid. The kid is legit. He's legit a crazy talent. What have you?
Yeah, I think.
Tell me what you've seen of him and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll make a slightly wider point before I talk about Max, because you reference, his age. I think as a personal preference, I kind of dislike how how well known the younger talents in football are becoming. I think there's kind of a layer of privacy that has now been lost due to social media and so on and so forth, the YouTube, where kids who are like 13, 14, 15 are getting traction online because of their performances, in youth teams. And I do feel as if sometimes we can be a little overboard. Like I'd much rather there be a bit more anonymity with these players until they kind of reach kind of like under 18, under 21 level before people really start talking about it. Because I think as talented as these kids are, it's still a lot of pressure to be known as like a public facing figure when you're quite literally, 14 years old. But again, I guess these are how times are shifting in football. Kids are getting exposed younger and younger. And, with that comes, money and attention, which I really hope that these clubs actually have, care and duty towards these players. But as it pertains to Max, we've all seen him for a while now. It's an incredible talent. And it's not just the talent, it's the ability to apply it consistently, especially as it pertains to like the physicality of the professional game. The Newcastle game was really just an eye opener, because he was getting physical treatment and he was managing to rise above it and impact the game. And I remember watching some of his dribbling clips in the youth team, and I was thinking, like, the way he tracks the ball, I feel as if if there's a concern, like if he gets to the men's game, he's going to get cleaned out, but somehow he's still got excellent control and speed of execution to avoid all that. So I think it might be a case where he's in like a bunch of match day squads but doesn't actually make it off the bench, which I kind of hope that's not the case. I would much rather him be in teams where there's under 21 where he's actually going to play, and then when it comes to the cup games, I'm all for it. Throw him in and see what's what. But for most sort of Premier League weeks, game weeks, I'm not expecting him to play. I would love to see it. I mean, I'm all for young, exciting talents, but it's not something I'm expecting or demanding of the manager. If our chance creation gets desperate, I'm sure you'll see people say, throw in Max Dowman, he will fix everything. But yeah, I don't think it's fair to expect that from him at this stage. But yeah, really, really amazing talent. And like I already referenced, you just hope that with the rise in profile and expectation that the club and the people around him, we all seem to be reasonable people, but they just maintain that level of care and protection for him, because he's clearly got an incredible future. And yeah, I don't think I've seen a talent like it in all my years of sort of watching young players break through, even the ones that ones that make it and don't make it. He's really exceptional, because it's not just the dribbling, it's not just the speed of it, it's the way he's able to combine that along with his execution of pass as well. He seems to have everything you want. He's a creator as well as an executor, and having those profiles together is really like something. So another year from now, I'm sure he'll be banging on the door to be getting first team proper minutes. I think this year is just slightly early for him, but I would like to see him in the cups if possible.
Yeah, agreed. And from one youngster to another, Ethan Nwaneri, I want to talk about him. Obviously, it's weird because it's been reported that he's signed a new contract. The club announced it. So hopefully he signs early in the first half. But to your point, I do feel, and as much as I love him, I do feel like Ethan sometimes plays for himself rather than a bit for the team. And that's not really meant as an insult. I just think at an age, sometimes you can tell he's 18 and he still hasn't, like, to lead the team and to be like maybe the main playmaker. I don't think.
Can I ask you a question on that though? Because
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking about this earlier. I might be just thinking about it in the wrong way. If you look at when Ethan plays for us, right, he's basically swapped out for Ødegaard. I mean, if he's not playing on the right wing, the idea is he plays in the Ødegaard position. And I'm just thinking, in terms of Ødegaard's role, if you compare sort of other elite teams, can you think of like many other elite teams where not only the press is coordinated by the 8, but it's coordinated to the level that Ødegaard is expected to do it? I feel as if ordinarily, even if you take out Ethan and put someone else in, like the manager asks a lot of Ødegaard in relation to the coordination and execution of the press. So for me, like as you referenced, like putting Ethan in that situation is going to be difficult regardless. But maybe if we're to facilitate Ethan playing in midfield, sure, maybe there's a way of tweaking the system so like, you know, that first coordination of the press isn't so reliant on him executing it properly. But yeah, I don't know if I'm looking at it too deep.
So with that sort of thing, I think that will come as we've all said with Ethan, his fitness and conditioning need to improve. Like just generally, that's a base area that needs to improve, right? And that's something that he can work on himself. I'm not expecting it to be Ødegaard level. I'm to be totally honest. Like Ødegaard does a lot, and obviously we actually need to reduce some of the responsibilities we ask of Ødegaard. So which is why I think Zubimendi coming in will hopefully indicate him staying higher up the pitch. So that's one less role that he'll have to do less dropping in this season. So my main thing with Ethan is that I think he always looks dangerous when he's on the ball. He always looks like he can create a shot for himself. He can skip half a yard. He can get into a dangerous moment. But in terms of knitting attacks together, I think as a 10, and obviously there's different ways to be effective as an attacking midfielder or a 10. But I think for the purposes of what we do, and we've spoken about this just generally, we as a team need to, when Ødegaard's on form and when he's fit and firing, he pretty much knits every attack together. So, and I'm not asking Ethan to be completely that, but I do think he needs to maybe show a few more elements of a playmaking bag, which is because what I thought yesterday, I was watching, there wasn't really much cohesion with Saka, I thought, on the right as well. So there wasn't really much elements of combination. There's one or two moments, but again, and obviously we also have to temper this by saying the kid is 18. Like we're making him seem like he's an uncle because of Max Dowman now, because of, you know, the 3-year age gap, right? It's looking crazy. Ethan's already touched uncle status. Yeah, youngest unks, and Saka's at granddad status because of the age of all these men. So it's more just constructive criticism. Also, because I could even tie Miles in here. Actually, I haven't thought Miles has looked great in pre-season either. This is why sometimes, whilst you're critical, you also have to take a step back and look at it as a whole. Because I don't think Rice has looked great. I think Rice is notoriously a slow starter when it comes to seasons as well. So there haven't actually been many great performers, I think, from pre-season. So that's why, whilst I've got my analytical, maybe constructive criticism hat on, I want to temper it, and I don't know how far to go. Do you know what I mean? So I think with Ethan, there's just a few areas that he probably needs to pick up. And this is, I'm talking more on the ball rather than off the ball. We all know, obviously, what the manager demands. I'm not even asking you to be like, I don't think anyone's going to be Ødegaard. What Ødegaard does off the ball is insane. But in terms of on the ball value add, I think, and what do you think he could potentially look to add more of, especially when we talk about chance creation, etc., and the ability to be more dangerous as a team as a whole?
Yeah, I think so. You're still on Ethan, right? Just to clarify. Yeah, I think the doctor said it quite a few times in which he thinks Ethan is a forward, and I hear it because he's got excellent strikes to the ball, and he's like the way when he receives the ball, you can sort of tell by his movements and his feints and stuff that he's trying to look for the closest route to goal. Having watched him in the youth teams, I definitely remember, or I feel as if I remember anyway, that there was definitely more of a creative side to his game that he was able to establish in regards to like his execution and pass as well, which again we haven't really seen. And this is why I was sort of asking the question about sort of the complexities of Ødegaard's role possibly inhibiting Ethan's game, where maybe he's subconsciously sort of having to actively think about all the things he needs to do to match up to the demands of the role, which can sometimes, inhibit other aspects of his game. So when maybe the ball comes to him, he's thinking, I've got to make a decisive movement. I think this is where it's curious to see what tactical adjustments or evolutions that Arteta may make, because we have reference, for example, in another context, like moving Rice and Zubomendi in a double pivot, because we feel as if it will facilitate both their games like really well, and then that creates a space for a 10, and a 10 that's probably more attacking orientated in comparison to the 8 role that we have in Ødegaard and the off the ball role that we both of us despise. So I think it will probably come with time. I think with Ethan's physical development, I've just mentioned, the double pivot. We've also sort of considered maybe like a false 9 thing. Again, with Gyökeres here, I think that ship has sailed. But again, part of the thinking is you have Ethan there who can, again, shoot on sight, but also be able to get in between lines to pick up the ball. But again, it's more the wider point of, if we sort of look at this team in this rigid 4-3-3 with the fixed midfield positions, I think it will take some time for Ethan to really sort of establish himself in the 8 role that Ødegaard occupies, if we're expecting it to sort of stay as is. But I do feel as if there is more of a creative side that in the youth teams he was able to display that he hasn't necessarily displayed here. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that evolves. I would like to see, if he's not able to get midfield minutes, at least still maybe take some right wing minutes as well, because I think even last season, I think the game that sticks out for me the most was the Leicester game. I think that might have been the best game we had all season, the away game, because I think that was a game that you can really remember and say that he was taking responsibility creatively, because there were a number of occasions. I mean, he created the first goal on that crossing from Marino, but the way he was receiving the ball, of course, he had his moments when he's driving towards goal and shooting, but I definitely felt as if there was a conscious effort for him to actually create. So I think it will come with time. Again, you've already mentioned his young age. Because these guys break out, you kind of forget, again, that just how young they are, and there's going to be some natural growing pains. But I think there's definitely space for him to grow in that regard. And if we do see sort of tactical alterations, I think that can really bring out or simplify, Ethan's game, especially in the final third. So there's definitely more to come. And yeah, he's a big talent, and I expect him to impact our season more than what he did last season, which was still pretty good.
Yeah. It's a watch this space, I guess, and obviously we'll see what happens when we might see more of a quote unquote first team, or even playing with more of a quote unquote first midfield, right? For example, if he's playing with Zubomendi and Rice, maybe we might see some greater things there as well. It's hard to analyze as much as, I guess, with an Norgard Marino sort of approach, right? Because it's for us to see that in a Premier League game, it kind of means something's gone very, very wrong somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So it's more backup than it is there. We've got quite a few listeners' questions, so let's go through them. Yonko Ab says, who do you think starts up front at Anfield? Yes, Liverpool game. I swear the Liverpool game's like 3 games in. Man skipped the first 2 games, which is like United and Leeds at home. I hope Gyökeres starts, but obviously I guess it depends how up to speed.
I think he has to start now. He has to start now because Havertz is injured, is he not?
Yeah, so not that I wish injury, but it kind of worked in our favour that, listen, that he picked up a little knock in training. Arteta did say it was a matter of days, but that's why I kind of need Gyökeres to bag. I think he might start again against Bilbao at the weekend, so I need a Gyökeres goal, bro. So I don't want Arteta. I don't want him to give Arteta any reason to bring back my man. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, listen, Gyökeres starts, he gets off to a good start, and then we can see, boy, because listen, it's already a deadly day. We already going to be seeing Gyökeres Sesko game week 1. So boy, listen. So yeah,
the guys at Mugger are cooking up something nasty. So yeah, if there's one game I need to go our way this season, it's that one, because we're gonna be hearing about that for the next 3 years if it goes the other way. We could win the title,
bro. You know what's crazy? Yeah, you know what's crazy? I'm resigned to Sesko scoring against us. I just,
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
mind when you know
absolutely.
certain things are gonna happen.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I know.
I just know he's gonna bag, bro. Like I know he's gonna bag. Like the one we wanted, the one obviously we moved away from because we thought the finances were too expensive. You just know, you know. Anyway, I just hope Gyökeres can land it on their head top. So yeah. So we'll wait and see with that.
By the
My
way,
boy
on
Ribs
your point
Delicious.
about, sorry, just quickly,
Go on,
on your
sorry,
point
go on.
about, Arteta being given an excuse to bench Gyökeres, I'm telling you now, if he makes an adjustment to where he's clearly benched Gyökeres as like a second choice, I feel as if fans would turn on him in a way that is not good. Because fans have waited for the striker. Even if Gyökeres turns out to be crap, it's almost like the optics of you have your striker that we waited for so long, but you're still prioritizing Havertz, Trossard et al. So yeah, just to say that, I think.
And also, even if you think he's going to be a dud or a busted flush, you need to give him enough rope to hang himself first before you make that change, right? So at least be like, boom, gave him a run of like 10 games. It's not worked. Cool. I think that's an area where people might be like, all right, you know what? We tried initially.
Yeah.
Let's change it up and then maybe change it up later again. So yeah. Ribs Delicious says, what do we do with Mikel Merino? My God, yeah, bro. You see this guy. God damn. I ain't even gonna swear on here, yeah, but
I called him
bro,
Hermano Havertz for a reason. And when I called him Hermano Havertz, man on Twitter were telling me that I don't understand the game because I don't see what he does. Like, this is where people are just so ridiculous.
And this is why I am an advocate for beating up Tacticos, because you see these guys, yeah, they are online talking the most, bro. They were and bear in mind, yeah, and I'll hold my hand up. Historically, I was never a Xhaka fan, but Granit Xhaka is 1,000,000 times
100%.
better than my man, bro. All the stuff that it's not even a debate, bro. Xhaka's gone, so I would have Xhaka back tomorrow over Marino, like without even blinking. Like, I'm proper just disappointed in this Marino, brother. He's better as a 9 than he is as a midfielder. Exactly like you said about Havertz, bro. He's got no business being in midfield, and people try to sell him as like, yeah, we're getting the band back together with him and Zubamendi. I said, listen, Zubamendi is doing some incredibly heavy lifting in that partnership. It's like 95 to 5%, bro. So yeah, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to say anything on Marino.
What's really shocked me about Marino is I genuinely thought he would have more influence on the ball. Like, I know the role. I know the role isn't primarily like box crashing, floating, or however you want to call it. But I was so shocked by his inability to actually progress the ball. Because in my head, when we signed him last season after that merry-go-round or however you want to call it, 40 million is not. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. And it's like this is the best you can do for us in midfield. Like, I was very disappointed in his midfield play, which is why I said he can grab goals pretty well, but as a midfielder, he leaves a lot to be desired. And yeah, not a fan of the signing. And I really hope that he can show a side that he hasn't shown before, because we definitely need more in midfield.
Okay, Salim _L87 Salam brother says, what are the realistic fees we can make from player sales, and would you entertain selling Kivior to get another attacking? Well, I think if we sell Kivior, we would need to bring in another defender, because
bringing that
I've seen Calafiori, bro, and this brother, as good as he is, and I really like him, by the way. I think when he plays, he's sick. I can't account for you if you're not on the pitch, my guy. Like, I just can't account for you. This guy cannot play more than 3 games without getting injured, bro. This is why I said we need to put him. We need to prohibit and put a ban on signing brothers from Bologna, because these brothers are made of paper mache, bro. They cannot last at all. So, and bearing in mind, I think we need to. Kivior looked OP yesterday, bro. Like, and obviously he's back up for a reason, bro. But if you could get willing to let him go and get Hato to Chelsea now. So I don't think that one is possible anymore. So and to answer the other questions, realistic fees, I don't know, bro. But Vieira, Nelson,
what is known
Trossard,
is that we are very poor sellers. So something needs to change. Burton needs to do his job, because, as you mentioned, we have a bloated squad, and we have so far not done a good job of shifting these guys. We don't make it a hostile environment, which is a choice, but at the same time, we got to get shit shaken. Because when I saw the report today about Eze can only happen if we move guys out, it's like, nah, come on, man. Like, we really need to get some moving, because I see Eze as a key signing, not an additional extra.
Absolutely. So let's see. Berta's got some players in, but my guy, I crucified Edu because he couldn't sell. I need to see something from you, my guy, ASAP. So especially as now it's the 7th of August, so my guy, get to work. HRHN Nonzo says, is Arteta's talent ID below average or just poor? I'll be real with you, I'm struggling with this, bro. I just don't get someone who has played under Wenger and assisted Pep at City. The profile of midfielders he's attained for, I really struggle with it. I can't lie. Like, I get the logic behind why he wants the box crash, but I just don't think that is the most sustainable way of doing things. I'd like to see some more, man. It's not great, bro. It's not great. I'll be real with you. And I was willing to give it time, but the sample size is looking a bit too big now. I'll be real. And when you're signing Noni with no one putting a gun to your head, my guy, you're gonna die on your own sword.
When people reference his time at La Masia and his time under Wenger, you have to also remind yourself that he spent the prime of his career under David Moyes. That shows in his midfield constructions. I think in terms of his talent ID, the example I always use, and maybe it's a lazy example or it's an outlier, is Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. We have seen some of the players that he reportedly wanted to bring in that the recruitment team pushed him away from. The most famous one being, Salah and Brandt. And all I'm thinking is, like, what is our recruitment team doing around Arteta to either enable him or to say, hey, why don't you consider X, Y, and Z? Because we know Arteta is, strong in his ideals, and there's nothing wrong with that as a manager. But what is everyone else doing that is allowing for these talents to, for this talent ID to take place? Because it's not always about a name. There's so many players out there. There's so much data out there that feasibly Arsenal can have access to and say, you know what, why don't you consider X as opposed to considering Marino or considering, Norgard or considering Madueke? Because, a manager can have his ideals, but if the recruitment team isn't doing their job as well, it just compounds the issue. So to answer the question, I'm not sure is my thing, because his defender ID seems to be pretty good. But as soon as we get to anything that's past the halfway line, we've all got questions. So, something needs to change. Otherwise, I think we're all going to all be very frustrated.
As someone said, our recruitment for defenders is top. Our recruitment for attackers, not so much. And actually, to be fair, I actually didn't mention him, and I probably should have mentioned him. Mosquera looks top. That looks like another top acquisition, actually.
Absolutely.
Looks really, 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 really good. So quick one-liner props to him. So we didn't mention him, but he looks really, really good.
Our recruitment is basically the meme of that horse that starts off like a really good drawing. That's like the defenders. Primary school drawing. That's our attacks.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, for sure, man. Shaggy P8 offers an alternative view. He says, is the current head loss from Arsenal fans justifiable? Last year we finished second with Champions League semis, injury ravaged attack. This summer we've upgraded 6 and injury proved our team with a left winger likely to come. Might not be the most exciting, but we are defo stronger. No, I do think, obviously, like, all banter aside, obviously Arsenal fans definitely are the most reactionary, 100%. Do you remember when there was that guy, like, who did the comparison of all the teams? Like, Arsenal fans are 100% the most reactionary. We do the most when something doesn't go our way, 100%. So banter aside, I think we're very strong. As a structured side, Arsenal don't concede a lot. So by virtue of not conceding a lot, we always put ourselves in conversations to do well. I always say we're a high floor team, but we might be a low ceiling team. Our ceiling is dependent by what we do to upgrade the attack, and upgrading the attack is not just buying personnel. It's the tweaks we've spoken about numerous times across this pod. So Shaggy, I guess to answer your question, I think it's more concerns, because it's concerns we've had for a while, and until we address those concerns, or until we see those concerns being alleviated on the pitch, I think people will rightfully still have those questions, right? So yeah. Cool. Joey Sants UK, how would you manage Max Dowman this season while keeping okay, we've already spoken about how to Max Dowman and how to manage him. I am Mr. Lex says that we just wasted a whole preseason. We have not tried anything new. We don't even look fresh. Looks like we've lost our superpower in defending questions. One loss away from crisis times again. You are what we just said about the reactionary. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And bearing in mind, I can be one of those who can, when I'm vexed, I can let my head, I can have head loss, but it isn't that bad. It isn't. Like, put it this way, yeah. At worst, I think Arsenal will be third this season. At worst, if you were to ask me my prediction already, I think at worst we'll be third. Like I said, I think the frustration just comes from sometimes we just look a bit too sterile, a bit too predictable, and we just want a bit more excitement into our play, supercharge the way we play faster, more tempo. Basically, people, a lot of us, and I've been seeing bear clips online, people harping back to 22, 23, because it wasn't long ago where we just looked, very exciting, very full throttle. So we just want a combination of that with, our defensive solidity now. And I know some people will say the back end of 23, 24, where we won 16-3-1 and lost one is that. So yeah, man, it doesn't need to be a referendum, but I understand the concerns and I am there with you in the concerning as well. So
yeah, I'm very much waiting for games.
We had similar with M1 who says, are any of you mentally ready for what we're going to be served up? Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So on that point then, Rajang J Nugar 95 says, how would you guys approach the United game with only one preseason game left? Have we left it too late to get these players comfortable and match fit with this newish style of play? I think we might see, unless, because when I said to you at the start of the pod that normally the last couple of games Arteta plays his strongest team. Do you anticipate the strongest team being played against Bilbao on Saturday with United in mind, or do you think he will experiment again? Because some people, conspiracy theorists, are saying he's done it because I'm sure United will analyze us to try and keep them guessing. He doesn't want to give too much away. I mean, Arteta is a sicko like that, to be fair. So what do you think? Do you expect our strongest team to play on Saturday ahead of the United game, or do you still see a bit of a mixed match like we've experienced with most of the preseason so far?
No, I think we get a solid 45 minutes of whatever we consider the first team to be, and then maybe some mix up there. And then after, I think we still get to see Max play again, and those sort of things. But I think we'll definitely see. I won't say definitely. I expect to see the team that lines up at Old Trafford to at least play 45 minutes again, just to get some minutes in. And in terms of like the actual United game itself, as we see, United are still heavily recruiting as well. So I think it's not like we're essentially going against a settled team either.
It's very true.
I think, yeah. So I think it's the first, and it's the first game of the season. First game of the seasons are not really ones you can sort of draw conclusions from as well. Don't get me wrong, I still expect to win, but yeah, I'm not sort of reading too much into what's happening between now and then. I'm very much, this season for me is about show and tell. Like I've had enough of hypothetical debates, man. Either you put up or shut up. So we'll see what happens on match week 1.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a couple more. We'll finish off with 2. Okay. Theorem says, anyone else but me a little worried about Saka? Big injury, long recovery, but to me the drop off in the quality of his performance since coming back Madrid aside has been considerable.
What would help Saka more than anything is having elite quality on the other side of the pitch. Mm-hmm. That is all. Yeah. I promise you, if you have another go-to attacker, all the sort of hyperfixation on Saka, I won't say all of it dissipates, but a large chunk of it dissipates, because all it means is someone else is stepping up and Saka can, still perform well. Yeah, he had a major injury. Like, surgery on a hamstring is no small thing. The fact that he even made it back and was able to impact our Champions League games, because I think he played well across both Madrid games. And I think even though he missed a big chance in the second leg, I think he's still pretty out of our players. I think he was one of our better players as well. So the fact that he was even able to make a recovery and impacted the game to that level is a testament to him. And I think, our general attacking angst towards how we played is amplifying these discussions. But more than anything, I'm sorry, you get another go-to attacker, which most elite teams have, and the hyperfixation on Saka and his hamstring will dissipate. Well, we haven't done that yet. That's just my opinion. So.
And I don't disagree too tough. Like, you got to remember, this is a kid since he's a teenager who has bore the brunt of pretty much the attacking burden. For the last 2 odd seasons, he's been double, triple teamed and still managed to find ways to be effective in games. I just think you need to give the kid help. Like, we've been waiting so long to give the kid help. Like, the fundamental reality is if he's being double or triple teamed, there should be space elsewhere. And we're not making the most of that space. Do you know what I mean? So, and this is not to say, like, put it this way, actually, I actually think he's been good this preseason. Like, but again, this is coming. How much stock do you put in? I'm pretty sure he's had a couple moments where, like, I've seen the burst. He still looks pretty springy to me. So I just think when the real football starts, I think Saka will be calm. I'm just more worried about what's happening around Saka rather than Saka himself. Because to your point, if we have other good threatening players, if we have a Saka equivalent on the left, Saka will be fine. So yeah, I'm not concerned. So yeah, all right. Let's finish off with this one from MB8701. He says predictions for the season ahead, league position, etc. We will do a season preview pod next week, but you can have a little preview. He says also, how much do expectations change if we don't make any additional attacking signings?
So yeah, I'm probably going to change my opinion between now and when the transfer window shuts. Currently, I have us finishing second. I don't know to who is the best answer, but I don't feel at this stage with how we are playing mixed in with our transfer attacking business that we can definitively say we are winning this title. What other predictions were there? Sorry, was it just league position?
No, just league position. But you could, if you want to do, you can add. Well, actually, no. We'll do the season preview next week, so we'll talk about top goal scorer, player of the season, young player. So,
yeah, in terms of change as well, we've touched on it already. Ways to access the center final third of the pitch, whether it's via combinations in and out to create space on the outside, or in and out, and then having an internal midfielder driving into space. That's the biggest thing. I think if Arteta is the coach that people say he is, he should be aware, or at least seeing how some of our creation issues have been manifesting, and there should be ways in which he's able to adjust and put our players in a better position. Again, yes, the players do hold responsibility. We've seen the Trossard clips, we've seen the Martinelli clips, we've seen the Havertz clips. I agree. At the same time, he's also brought these guys in, so he has some level of faith in their ability to deliver attacking performance. So, yeah, if things stay the same, won't be looking good. But between the manager and his ideals and potential transfers, I expect things to improve.
I think the doctor put it perfectly in the chat today. He said, listen, this is how you built the squad, but there's also still bare talent in the squad. It's incumbent on you to make it work. So this is what you get paid for. So make it work. All right, cool, Khalil. Let's leave it there. Listeners, thank you very much for joining. Yeah, we do have the Miles Patreon coming, so do be aware of that. And next week we will do a big season preview pod where we'll do predictions on league finish. We'll look at young player of the season, top goal scorer, young player of the season, breakthroughs to expect, disappointments maybe to expect. So do be on the lookout for that, and continue to tell a friend to tell a friend. Khalil, thank you. Listeners, catch you on the flip side. Peace.
Yo, when I spit bars in a rain, man, I go hard like Santan.